الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد. Inshallah ta'ala, over the next hour and a half or so, we'll try to cover Umrah and Hajj, lesser and the greater pilgrimage. We'll start with some basic points that we all are aware of. It's just a revision and recap, really. A fifth pillar of Islam, we call it Hajj, and it means to intend a journey. It is fard upon sahibu istita'ah, the one who has the means to be there, have all the finances, and is safe from being there without having to go through any trouble. Like it's a safe place for them. There's no trouble on the journey, on the path. And likewise, they have got enough support back home. So they should be able to go there and come back. And for women, they should have their mahram as well. So all of those needs to be there to make them sahibu istita'a, and it is fard once in the lifetime of that individual. So normally someone who has a nisab of zakat, they pay zakat and there was some surplus, obviously, then they should be performing hajj at least once in their lifetime. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the right is upon the people that they perform hajj if they have the means to be there, they have the capacity and ability to do so. And whoever rejects it, whoever shows their ungratefulness to this, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of any of the people from the world. Allah mentioned this in Quran, and likewise Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam highlighted the significance. Ya ayyuhan nasu qad furida alaykum al-hajj fahujju. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, O people, it has been made obligatory. Hajj has been made obligatory for you to go and perform Hajj. The earlier, the better. Anyway, this ibadah is a very comprehensive one, encompassing both the physical and the financial aspects. So you have your bodily ibadat like prayers, fasting. You have your financial one like sadaqah and zakat. But this one is actually a combination of all of those. And there is a reminder. Now, there's a saying that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created men, and that's the aqidah of Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and it's in Quran, Alastu bi Rabbikum. So Allah brought forth everyone from the loin of Adam alayhi salam after his creation, and we were all in a protoform sitting together in the open field, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us about him, saying that Alastu bi Rabbikum. وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذرية وأشهدهم على أنفسهم ألست بربكم, am I not your Lord? And we all said بلى شهدنا, we testified to it. So there's a scholarly saying that the day of Arafah, which is the actual Hajj, Al-Hajj Arafah, that day is the place is the place where we were all gathered in that plain of Arafah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed himself to us, and we all had the irfan, ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is why it's called Arafah. Well, this is one of the reasons, one of the explanation, but there are many others. But anyway, if you take that one, on the day of Arafah, the only ritual you have to do is to stand in the plain of Arafah. There's no tawaf, no rukun, no action here and there other than just being in that place. So the ulama would say that just to contemplate on the purpose of your creation, why you've been sent to this world, and what is the expectation. It's just a contemplation, and that on its own would purify one. When one has completed their Hajj without any trouble, without any sins, without any shortcomings, then they come back as though they've just been born. So that happens because you remind yourself of your creation and your creator likewise. But keep that in mind when you're in the plain of Arafah, inshallah ta'ala, that I'm here as a, just to renew my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a Hajj which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hajj Mabrur. Hajj Mabrur is the Hajj where there is no disobedience committed, no sins attached to it, like actively. Obviously, one tries their best to stay away. When, as a human being, we might make mistakes, but generally they would try and avoid any sins. So that's why one needs to know what are the faraid, what are the things that we need to stay away from. And how do we know whether Hajj has been accepted or has it been Hajj Mabrur? Is when you come back from Hajj and you have reflected on your life, you have noticed that your life is way better than the one before Hajj. So the life after Hajj is actually a better transformation. Then it suggests that your Hajj is accepted. This is a sign. So Hassan al-Basri, rahmatullah alayhi, one of the tabi'in, he said the Hajj after which he returns away from the dunya towards the preparation of the akhirah. Your focus becomes towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more so than it is towards dunya. Then it means that you have got a Hajj which has been good and been accepted. The three types of Hajj, there's a Hajj which is ifrad, where you just perform the Hajj main pilgrimage, the ritual, those 5 days activity from 8th of Dhul Hijjah to 12th and 13th. And that is actually for people who live within the vicinity of Hijaz. So they are, the locals. And this Hajj called Qiran, which Hajj and Umrah are put together within the same ihram. So you have the intention of Umrah and Hajj. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did on the farewell pilgrimage, and this is highly meritorious but very difficult in a sense that if you make mistakes, you get the penalty of 2 violations for each violation. Why? Because you've got 2 ihram simultaneously, of Umrah and of Hajj. So that's why generally it is not advised to people. The easy, common, standard one is tamattu', which is where you do perform Umrah, have a break, and then do Hajj. New ihram for both separately. So ifrad I just mentioned, qiran I just mentioned. So I thought we'll just go on tamattu because that's the one we are focused on, and most people would do that. If someone has interest in doing qiran, they can ask separately, inshallah ta'ala. So you perform Umrah whenever you reach, and then once you've completed your Umrah, you come out of ihram, and then you stay there until 8th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the day of Hajj. And when you come on that day, new ihram, straight to Hajj rituals. And that is called Hajj Tamattu', where you are taking advantage of a break between the two, having a, ihram-free life in between. And that would give you some respite, so to say, a little bit more energy, so to say, maybe a little bit more awareness of the place, of the rituals, revising the stuff that I need to do in the main 5 days. At this point, I just need to focus on my Umrah and then go and do it. And then I have got 2 or 3, however long is between your Umrah and Hajj. So the earlier you go there, the longer you would have until the Hajj. So Hajj would start for everyone on 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the Fajr time of that. And that 8th of Dhul Hijjah is called Tarwiyah. We come to that in a minute. So what are the faraid of Hajj? Hajj first. So we come to Umrah afterwards as well. So Hajj, there are 3 faraid. Ihram. Ihram is being in the state of restriction, making certain thing haram for oneself. Ihram and tahrim, similar meaning, making something haram. We cover that in a minute. Wuquf means standing in Arafah, in the plain of Arafah. That is a fard. And tawaf al-ziyara or tawaf ifadah, which is the final tawaf that you do. Not final in a sense that you can't do any afterwards, but final enough, the main one for the Hajj. Because in between you can do as many as you like. And there are certain wajibat as well, which is sa'i, running between the Safa and Marwa. Consider all for practical purposes that we have to do all of those. That's a technical difference between fard and wajib, but ignore that. Just do all of them. Wuquf of Muzdalifah, spending night in Muzdalifah. We tackle each of these separately. Rami, which is stoning, the columns, the jamarat. If you are afaqi, if you are the outsider, which we all will be, because we are not local, then tawaf qudum, the entry. But since we do Umrah, then it becomes easy. Likewise, tawaf wada', which we do right at the end. Tawaf wada'. Then halq and qasr, trimming or shortening your, or even shaving your hair for men and women to trim it. That's wajib. And those who are doing Hajj Qiran or Tamattu', they have to offer a slaughter, a sacrifice. and combining Maghrib and Isha and praying together at Isha time in Muzdalifah. That is wajib as well. And then maintaining the order of Rami, slaughter, and then shaving the head. If you maintain that order, although there is leeway in some other schools, this is according to Hanafi school. Okay, Hajj Tamattu. So you have Umrah and a break in between, and then Hajj. Okay. What is Umrah then? Umrah means to visit a populated place, Imara, a place which is populated, and you're visiting that, which is Hijaz, which is Mecca and the vicinity. And it means that you perform tawaf of Kaaba and sa'i between Safa and Marwa, to mount, two hillocks, after assuming the state of ihram, either from the miqat, if you are the outsider, or in the hill, which is the place between the miqat and the haram for the local people. And it is called Hajjul Asghar, as opposed to Hajjul Akbar. The Hajj, the main Hajj, is called Hajjul Akbar, and this one is Hajjul Asghar. Now, there's a common misconception among some people, some laity, some common people. They think Hajj Akbar is a special type of Hajj which happens on Friday. And the rest of the days, if it happens, then it is not Hajj Asghar. So that's wrong understanding. Hajj Asghar is Umrah, Hajj Akbar is Hajj. Whether it falls on Friday or not, that doesn't matter. Now, obviously, for very clear reason, Hajj Asghar, Umrah is only a short ritual, few rituals. Within few hours, you can come out of Ihram by performing all of those. Hajj Akbar, it would take good, definitely 4 days, and has to be, hang on, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's 5 days minimum, and could be even one extra day, depending on whether you want to do that voluntarily or not. That's a choice. For 5 days minimum rituals. But in the state of ihram, you have to be minimum 3 days. So obviously that's longer. So that's why it's Akbar. And compared to this one, which is Asghar. It so happened, I mean, where the confusion came was because when Rasulullah ﷺ performed his Hajj, and he only did one Hajj, he only did once. And that is when it happened on Friday. So people equated that to Hajjul Akbar. Allah called it Hajjul Akbar. Bara'atu min Allah wa rasuli ila nasi yawm al-Hajjil Akbari. So with that, people thought since it was on Friday, maybe the Hajj on Friday is called Hajjul Akbar. But that's not the scholarly understanding. Anyway, so Umrah. We come in the state of Ihram. We do Tawaf after that. We do Sa'i between Safa and Marwa to mount. And then we do either Halq or Qasr. Once you have done that, we are out of Umrah. Many people have done it and they know it. If you haven't, then nothing to worry about. We just get through all of those. Ihram. Ihram means to make something haram. Certain things which were halal, you are now making it into haram. As you call takbir al-tahrima. Takbir tahrima is the beginning takbir of your prayer. So we raise our hands and we say, as if we are with the action, throwing and pushing everything behind and saying, Allahu Akbar. So this is called takbir al-tahrima because this takbir means Allahu Akbar, making glorification, making Allah the greatest. By saying that, we actually make certain things haram upon us. So talking, for example, eating, walking, turning our face and chest away from Qibla, we make all of those haram. Likewise, when you come in the state of ihram, you make certain things which were halal haram upon you. For example, perfume. For example, covering the face for women and men, covering the head for men. Likewise, the feet, all of that, if that's covered for men, for women it's okay. So there's certain thing you cannot do. Conjugal relationship between husband and wife, you can't do that in the state of ihram. Sewn clothes for men, you can't do that. So there are many things that we are all aware. So we made all those halal things haram upon us. That is why it is called ihram. So you are in the state of ihram. Now there's common misconception where people think that those two sheets that they wear, men, they are called ihram. They're the clothes of ihram. They're the attire of ihram, the dress of ihram, not ihram per se. Why we wear them before, we come to that in a minute. So it is sunnah, and sunnah mu'akkada, emphasize sunnah, to do a ghusl. So now you're traveling, say, on 25th of this month or 6th of next month, whatever date you're traveling, you get ready by doing a proper ghusl. You perfume your body, for men especially, just the body. Remember, you're not in the state of ihram yet. This is sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did that. But make sure that that is not a perfume which is too much runny, that it would then impart and transfer onto the clothing. Because then that ihram sheet that you wear afterwards would have that perfume, and you take it off for answering the call of nature, and then you put that back on, as now you've got the perfumed cloth on your body. So that would violate the restrictions of ihram. So don't do that if you don't feel confident. And if you wanted to do it, just make sure there's something that is rubbed on the body or something which is sprayed, and it is going to go away soon. It doesn't stay there. The smell could stay, but not the liquid thing, like the body. Okay, and then for men to wear two sheets, doesn't have to be white, but it is mustahab to have white for the uniformity, for ease, and it resembles more like a shroud, that we are going to be in a grave like this. So it's preferred that way. That's why. So the lower part is called izar, which is covering your waist down, and then make sure that ankles are not covered. Though for men, it is, by the majority of scholars' understanding, according to the hadith, it is not permissible to cover the ankle for men. And rida is the top garment, just two sheets. And then you perform 2 rakat. And remember, every time you do 2 rakat in Hajj, it is preferable to say after Surah Fatiha, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun in the first rakat, and Qul huwallahu ahad in the second rakat. This has been the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then you make the intention. When you perform these 2 rakat, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had his head covered. He put the sheet from the top garment on his head. And that's how he performed, because it is sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to keep his head covered all the time, definitely during the prayer time, unless he's in the state of ihram. So what he's hinting by doing that, he was hinting to the fact that I am not in the state of ihram yet, although I've got 2 white sheets on me, but I'm not in the state of ihram yet. That's why I covered my head with my sheet, and I'm performing my 2 rakat. He completed it, he took it off, and then made this intention by saying, Labbaik Allahumma umrah. And then he said, Talbiyah, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, 3 times minimum. Once is a must, 3 is sunnah. Once minimum, once you have to do. Once you have said that intention, there's a longer intention as well, I would share, but you can read it from the book, up to you. But this much will suffice. Labbaik Allahumma umrah. And then doing the talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, everyone knows, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This is sunnah to say once, and fard, that is sunnah to say thrice, fard to say once. After you've said your intention and you have recited this, you are in the state of ihram. Now, if you don't want to do, for whatever reason, 2 rakat, that's up to you. It is sunnah mu'akkada, you should be doing it. Why are you going to perform Hajj if you're not following all the sunnahs and rituals of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That's the whole idea, to purify yourself, isn't it? In following the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then recite this talbiyah abundantly, every so often. Keep doing it every so often. Up, down, right, left, carry on. We come to a point where you have to stop. There'll be a time. Anyway. So restrictions, you know the restrictions, we already mentioned some of them. Allah mentioned some restrictions in the Quran. So when you're going, الحج أشهر معلومة فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. when someone is performing Hajj, they should stay away from rafs. Rafs is conjugal relationship, and that includes talking about anything that would hint towards a lustful relationship, even the talk or the gestures or touching and things like that between husband and wife. Fusuq is the act of disobedience. Jidal, fisq, fusuq. Jidal is the dispute, argumentation, altercation, fighting over things. And that's very important. It's very, very common. People would argue with, oh, I want to go in. And the gatekeeper doesn't let you inside the haram. You start fighting, arguing, getting, it's quite warm there. So people get very hot-headed there, arguing with people. No, I have offered, I wanted it like this. And I know we will go there between husband and wife, between colleagues, between even with the managers and the group leaders and the tour operator, whoever are the people that you're going with, and the government officials, arguing with everyone. And the expectation is there. So I've paid this much and I expected this. What sort of hotel is that? What sort of bedding is that? And I'm not happy with that. So don't do any of that, because you're not there for this. You had your time to think about, to discuss, to mull over, to contemplate, and you finally decided, hopefully with istikhara, and you got the package that you wanted. Alhamdulillah, no one forced you into it. Once you got it, whatever it is, leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are now the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would look after you. Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you to have that trouble, so remember, that is the way of purification for you. Remember, Sahaba Karam had to spend 8 days walking from Medina to Mecca in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that final pilgrimage. So from 25th of Dhul Qa'dah so it took quite a long time. And on the journey, they did not have all those, takeaways and short hotel here and there and service stations. They had whatever little they had. They would just camp wherever they needed to camp, and then they would slaughter some of the animals, get the food ready, erect their tents, spend the night, and then journey next day again. It was an easy journey, and they did not have any hotel ready for them, places ready for them in Mecca. They entered Mecca straight onto Talbiyah, straight onto Tawaf, straight onto their rituals. And then they had to, after finishing their Umrah, erect their tents, get the places, and then started sorting out their food, and then getting ready. They didn't have anything, very little provision. So that was the hardship. Men, women, all the Azwaj Mutahharat were with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the Sahabiyat were together, almost everyone. Only few people were left behind. And that is how they performed it. And they did not have any pre-Hajj seminars and talks and discussion and understanding. Everything was taught to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, most of them. At that point, Jibreel was telling him, and he was just announcing it. And when he would announce, it would just go to the next person, from there to the next person. And by the time it reached 124,000 people without any megaphone or any mic, no reception, no online connection, no phone and YouTubes, directly hearing from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through intermediary in between. So wherever his voice could go, from there, another announcer would announce it to the next lot of people, and they would announce to the next. So by the time the final person heard it at the periphery, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam already had mentioned so many different things. So they got obviously things mixed up here and there, confused a little bit, and that wasn't a problem at all, because it was supposed to be like that. And slowly, that is how. So remember how much hardship Sahaba had to go through to perform that Hajj with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyway, so that's that. And hunting is not allowed as well, as Quran mentioned elsewhere. Hairs and nails you can't trim or cut. Some people have habit of chewing onto their nails. They don't do that. Perfume and scented soap, oil, you can't do the unscented. Okay. Men shouldn't cover their head, and shouldn't even touch it. You can cover by like in having a gap. For example, you are under the shade, for example. You can hold an umbrella, which is like above your head, but not touching your head. Shoes, shirts, turbans, hooded cloaks, trousers, gloves, undergarment, anything which is sewn in the body shape, you can't wear. No men cannot wear anything which is sewn in the bodily shape, and on that body, or anywhere. For example, a headgear, a topi, a cap, which is in the head shape, you can't wear it. A shirt, you can't wear it, but you can wear the shirt by tying on your back, not by putting your hand in the sleeves on both sides. So some people get confused. They say, oh, sewn clothes are not allowed, which means that anything that is stitched on that, we can't wear. No, not at all. Like belt, for example, that belt is fine. Although there are certain stitches, so what? Doesn't matter. It's not the stitch which is a problem. It is a sewn cloth in a body shape. So glove, for example, is in a body shape. So you can't wear glove. You cannot wear something which is in body shape, but you can wear the same thing which is in the body shape in a different way. So for example, you've taken your shirt and you just wrapped on your hand because you were feeling cold. Fine. That's okay. Okay. Women, the only restriction with regards to clothing they have is that they cannot touch a piece of cloth on their face. Obviously, they have to be very careful of covering their face, as they should normally do throughout anyway. But if they don't, then that's their choice. In Hajj, if they want to uncover, if they want to cover their face, they should do it in such a way that the cloak or the whatever stuff, the niqab, face veil, is not touching their face. There should be a barrier, a gap. So either turning their head to the right side or the left side where the people are coming against that, and then, hiding their face, that's fine, without touching it. Umbrella, as I said, okay, you can wrap something on your hand. Blanket, sheets, fine, your feet is covered, but not head and face for men, face only for women. Sandals, rings, glasses, hearing aids, watches, speech aid, anything, they're all fine because they're not in the body shape and they're not clothing items, some of them. You can take bath, you can wash yourself, you can scratch your body and head if you needed to, if you feel like itchy, but not crazily trying to pull the hairs. That's bad. And then unintentionally, if some hair fall off, that's not a problem. Miqat, you must be in the state of ihram before miqat. And a very, very important point about this is many people, when they're traveling from abroad, so their plan is from here to, say, Bahrain, and from there I would take the next one, or Dubai, and from there I would take the next flight that would take me to Jeddah, for example. Now, this ideally, they should not make their intention from UK. Because if you did it from here or whichever country you are, because the chances are, and there may be possible, you'll be having a longer state of ihram and then you make mistake. So why get in the state of ihram until the time when you have to be in the state of ihram, which is when you are on your journey towards haram. If it's not the direct journey and you are having a transit, so I would suggest that do your ihram intention. You can do your 2 rakat here if you wanted to, but there will be place, because all the flights are going via some Islamic country where there will be provision, especially for Hajj people. So you would have your wudu place, you would have your ghusl place, you can just don your ihram there. But if you wanted to do it here, it's fine as well, and you can have normal clothes on top of that. So I would have my normal sheet underneath, the bottom one, and my ihram on top of that, my normal thawb on top of that. So I'm covered, and then my coat. And when we reach there, I have a quick shower there as well, a fresh one, and do 2 rakat there, and covering your head, and then take it off, and then come in the state of ihram with the intention and talbiyah. You're done. Now, you might want to just do 2 rakat because you're not sure whether the flight is on time or not. So then hold. Do your ghusl, change the clothes, rakat's done, but don't announce or pronounce your talbiyah yet and your intention yet. You can do that in the plane. Once the plane has taken off to haram, then before going to sleep, before you retire, don't retire and think that someone would wake you up. Well, they would announce on mic a few times that we are about to enter miqat, we are about half an hour away from miqat, make your intention. There are certain people who are too deep in their sleep and they're tired and exhausted that they might not wake up. And if you have crossed the boundary, crossed the miqat before you come in the state of ihram, you would have to pay the penalty for that. So if you're planning to sleep, do the intention and talbiyah and then sleep, not a problem. Okay. Again, you don't need to know that. Of going from UK, it will be, we're all going from the Medina route, so it's from the Sharq route. This is okay. So that's going to be our ihram, our miqat, Dhul Hulayfa. So talbiyah, as I said, once it is fard, the rest of the time it is sunnah. Should do 3 times at least, if possible. And durood after talbiyah is mustahab as well. Men should say it loud. Women should say it very, very softly. Only they could hear. Someone, the mahram standing next to, they can hear, but not other people. And likewise, they should not greet and talk in between talbiyah. Talbiyah is dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Leave it at that. Don't disturb others and don't say salam in between. When you stop for Umrah, you stop at the beginning of your tawaf, when you are just about to start your tawaf. So what is tawaf? So now, this is the first time you're entering haram, first time on this journey at least, if you have been there, inshallah ta'ala, before. So there's a scholarly understanding, and there's some weak reports to suggest that, but not the most authentic one, but it's still a practice of all the pious people. So one should try and do that, which is when you look at the Kaaba the first time, your du'as are accepted. So enter the haram, have the first intention, and don't rush into doing your umrah to get rid of your ihram. So if you're tired and exhausted, just go to your hotel, rest there, few hours. Don't worry about rush and whatever. Just because you want to do things properly. So have enough energy, full strength, and then inshallah ta'ala, wake up, have a proper meal, and then go for it with a good, you feel like doing it. All energy and everything there. Enter haram, and then try to think about what dua you want to make at that point. One such dua could be, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after looking at the Kaaba the first time. It's so awful and it's so painful to see that some people do not even realize that they don't even make dua at that point. So anyway, so the beauty of Kaaba is such that we get into awe, and we look at that and we start crying. Before we could think of any dua, we've already moved on. So at that point, try to have your mind prepared with some dua that you want to make, the most important one. So one such dua would be, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, accept every dua that I would make from now on in this journey, or even in my life. Oh, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I want to make the dua that every dua that I make, include in that all the du'as of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give me all the blessing and barakah. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and pious people made here, accept all of those on my behalf. And also whatever, think about whatever you want to say there. So the tawaf starts from Hajar Aswad. Hajar al-Aswad is the black stone, which is, we come to the logistics, how you will find out where it is, because there'll be so many people. And there are 7 circuits, and they are counterclockwise, hinting to the point that our heart is towards Kaaba. Secondly, that we are going against the time, against the tides of the world. World is walking in one direction, we are away from, against them, to suggest that we are not bothered about where you are going, O materialistic people. We are going towards a spiritual world, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inni dhahibun ila rabbi sayahdeen. And it starts off with the istilam, and it's end with the istilam of istilam means actually there's taqbil. One should just go and kiss the Kaaba, the black stone to begin with. But that is very much of a trouble because of the rush and the crowd there. And also they now put a lot of perfume. People do perfume there. So that's, you may touch it and then it would just come to your clothes and they would have violated it. So don't do that while you're in the state of ihram. For your nafil tawaf, you can try that. If you're not pushing and putting, making sure that you don't push people away. You don't trouble anyone. It is haram to harm others, and touching and kissing is mustahab. So you can't be doing mustahab and sunnah action by causing haram, so by committing haram. So that's not at all okay. Especially women, they shouldn't try and be pushed and touched and by men. That's not the place. They shouldn't be. They should never ever be in that situation anyway. But where do a lot of men would be anyway? So try to be a bit more careful and sensible. Don't follow your desires, rather follow Sharia, inshallah ta'ala. So istilam, touching or taqbil, kissing of Hajar Aswad, and you say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd, and you start walking, looking at Hajar Aswad, directing your chest towards it. Sorry, the chest remains in front, only the hands to the side. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. I mean, you have the intention of tawaf in your mind. You can say as well. There are certain du'as people created, but they're not based on sunnah, so you don't have to know that. If you have a book that gives you some dua, you can read it. All those du'as around the circle, there's no specific dua by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but if someone wants to read those du'as, there's nothing wrong with that. They are, made by the scholars in a nice, they put together in a nice words, nice beautiful words, and some from sunnah, some from Quran. So there's nothing wrong with that, except that you do not consider it to be must. You can recite Quran, you can do whatever you want. You can just stay quiet and keep doing the circumambulation, the tawaf. You can just keep walking. So there's Rukn Yamani, Yamani or Yamani, that's the corner. So that is Hajar Aswad corner. This is Yamani corner. So Yamani corner is another one that, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would touch. But unlike Hajar Aswad, where you can do the pointing of the hands towards Hajar Aswad and kissing your hand, or even if you had a stick, a staff that you can point towards it and kissing that, even that is perfectly fine. It's all sunnah, but not with the Rukn Yamani. Rukn Yamani or Yamani, you can only touch it and then that's kissing your hand. That you can do the istilam in touching it, that's fine. But if you're far away, you can't wave or shake towards it. You can't wave hands to Rukn Yamani. You can do that to Hajar Aswad though. And there's, as I said, no specific dua other than Rabbana Atina Fid Dunya Hasana wa Fil Akhirati Hasana wa Qina Adhaban Nar, from between Rukn Yamani and Hajar Aswad. And how to know about that? When you look up, you'll find Makkah Tower towards Rukn Yamani. So when you see the Makkah Tower, long clock tower, they start saying Labbaik Allahumma Rabbana Atina Fid Dunya Hasana all the way. Keep doing it till you reach those that line which is marked by green light. I will show you. So for men, there is Ramal as well. Ramal is jogging a little bit, walking as if you are a commando. In the first three shout, and there's a reason for that. I would leave it in the interest of time. Why Sahaba were instructed to do that? Because Makkah were thinking that they're coming from Medina. It was a sick place. They must be very unwell. They're not got any health the way we have. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted them to show that we are very strong, coming all the way from here. So they felt very upset. Oh, they're very strong, man. Anyways, and Iltiba is only for 3 circuits. That Ramal, jogging, yeah. Even if you have so many people around, you can't do it, but have a bit of jog at the place where you are in order to fulfill that sunnah, however much you could do without much trouble. Iltiba is covering the left shoulder, but not the right. So uncovering the right shoulder, like the picture, and only for men, obviously. And this is for all 7 circuits. Okay, only for tawaf, which is followed by sa'i, not in any other tawaf, and only in tawaf. So some people would be like this, walking around in the haram, even in sa'i. That's wrong. That shouldn't be done. It's makruh. Can't expose yourself. Only for tawaf. 2 rakat afterwards, and that should be ideally behind Maqam Ibrahim, but could be anywhere. This is Maqam Ibrahim, right in front of the door of Kaaba, the gate of Kaaba. That is Rukn Maqam Ibrahim. Yeah. So if you look at this cartoon, you would see this is Hajar Aswad, black stone. Okay. Going counterclockwise. So this is door of Kaaba, and this is black stone. In between the space is called Multazam. That is space where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would throw himself, like as you would do to your mother, and then you start crying. So he would put his chest on that wall. This is called Multazam, where you just get attached to. And this is Maqam Ibrahim. You pray behind it, but it doesn't have to be in that area. It can be anywhere in Haram. Keep going back. Don't push people. Don't pray there by and disturbing others, those who are doing tawaf. So shouldn't be doing it. And then this corner is Rukn Iraqi here towards Iraq, and this is Rukn Shami towards Sham. This is Rukn Yamani, and this is Hatim, which is half wall, and that was the original wall, but you can pray inside here. That is as if you were inside the Kaaba, inshallah ta'ala. and this is main Kaaba. And so actual picture is like this. So you would see these green lights, which mark the line of Hajar Aswad. Hajar Aswad is actually these green bulbs. These are the direction. So make an imaginary line in your mind. See, in that line, in front of that, that is where Hajar Aswad would be, because you won't be able to see the line on the floor, and you won't be able to see Hajar Aswad anyway. So that's like, quite low down, and people are all covering from left, right, and center. So that's Hatim. This is Mizab al-Rahma. That's the pipe, rain pipe. This is Hatim or Hijr as well. We call it Hatim and Hijr both. Okay. So if you know those landmarks, it would help you, because if you entered from a place and you happen to be at the top part, for example, on this corner, and you can only walk back to be at Hajar Aswad. If you didn't know, you would keep walking all the way in the big circuit for the next 20 minutes until you come to this. So you have already exhausted yourself. So knowing your landmarks will be easier, so you do not get lost, and also you start the thing in the right way. Drinking Zamzam is Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this is the difference between us and the Munafiq. The Munafiq, the hypocrite, they can only do this much. We drink a lot. So the more you could do, the better. And try to drink as much. And there's barakah in it. And you can't remove your impurity with that, but you can put on your body with the sense of barakah. And say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, doing 3 times, and then saying Alhamdulillah at the end. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's companion, and this is from hadith as well, the Zamzam water serves the purpose for which it was drunk. Whatever, this is a hadith, whatever your intention is. So Imam Hafiz ibn Hajar Asqalani rahmatullah alayhi said that he had the intention, Ya Allah, give me the memory as sharp as Imam al-Zahabi, and he got that, mashallah. He was Imam Amir al-Mu'minin fil hadith. Some said that I had the intention, I should not get thirsty on the day of judgment. So that's another beautiful intention. So having any intention, inshallah, Ya Allah, purify my inside with this Zamzam, cure me of all the physical and spiritual diseases, any dua. Then you do sa'i. Sa'i is running between Safa and Marwa, 2 hillocks. This is after tawaf. They have 7 circuits as well. Whole wajib. Start from Safa, in the Safa, wal Marwa, so Safa first, Marwa afterwards. And you raise your hand towards Kaaba, again make dua, and jogging between 2 milain akhdarain, 2 green lights, I will show you in a second, and you end on Marwa, which is alhamdulillah good, no round circuit, round trip. Starting from Safa to Marwa 1, Marwa to Safa 2, 3, 4 like this, starting Safa, ending at Marwa, the 7th one, and that's done, not a round circuit. So this is where you go. So you started Safa on this side and walking towards Marwa, and you would see these green lights, 2 of them, one here, one at the end. So that is a journey. It was a long hill, actually a mountain, where Sayyidah Hajra alayhi salam, she was running down, she was coming down, and as you come to the lower part, you start running, isn't it? So that's where she was running, and then going on to the other side to look for water for Ismail alayhi salam. That is why we follow her path, her way, and running. Only for men though. Women are not supposed to do that. These green lights, you can see. And again, as I said, men, like this man and this man, they're just showing their shoulder in the same istiwa position. You shouldn't be covered like this. So this is Safa, this is Marwa. You're walking from Safa to Marwa, Marwa to Safa, Safa to Marwa, down this way. So this is 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, not round trip. And it tends to be a bit hard. That surface of the ground on this area, Mas'a is called Mas'a, it could be very painful. So you are allowed to have your clean, nice and new slippers which are free from any like filth, if they're not impure. So you can put them on, and then you can do tawaf in those slippers as well, but making sure that you do not step on anyone. Be very careful. Doing for tawaf is bad, because then you would harm someone inadvertently. Here the people have got a bit more distance, because there are 3 to 4 different levels that people do their sa'i on. Once you've completed 7 circuits, then you trim and shave your head. It is good for men to shave. They get more reward, 3 times more dua from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for those who shave, and then finally for those. And women have to trim an inch or so. That they should take a quarter. So all take this right at the bottom of your head, wrap it on your finger, and just make a nice straight line from all the way here to there. Once you have taken once you have shaven your head or removed the hair, you are out of ihram. You are now in ihlal. You have done halal. Whatever was haram for you and become halal now. Okay, then you start getting engaged in ibadah, whatever rituals you could do, all the good work, and then keep working, but don't overexert yourself. Now come the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. This is the time when you start Hajj. So whatever was the time difference between that. Again, on 8th of Dhul Hijjah, just as the dawn break, you do the wudu or ghusl ideally. And again, in the same way, you do your intention and talbiyah. And after Fajr, you leave for Mina. And you have to pray 5 prayers there. Fajr you have already done in Haram. And you should reach there by Dhuhr. So once you are in Mina, the Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, for that day, and the next morning's Fajr, which is 9th, and that is the day of Dhul Hijjah, which is Arafah day, main Hajj day. Again, you would say once you're in the state of Ihram, you start doing your Talbiyah, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, every so often, and you'd carry on until the 10th. So this is 8th, you started, whole day, 9th, whole day, 10th, whole day, until you've done the Rami of 10th Dhul Hijjah, okay, which is the big Jamrah. Ideally once after Ihram, which is Fard, the rest is Sunnah. Try 3 times every time, and Durood afterwards, allowed for men, quietly for women. I mean, this is old picture. Things have changed a lot, so don't worry about that. But make sure that you are aware of your, all the different points, how to go, where to go. Stay in your area. Don't try to be smart and go out and get lost because they all look same. But know the numbers, and don't. Sometimes it will be very, very rough and like this, and you might not enjoy, but it doesn't matter. Some may be very nice and clean, depending on how and where are you. Anyway, so then the next morning, so you've done 5 prayers there. After Fajr, they would announce and they would tell you when would your bus be ready to take you to Arafah. So you go to Arafah there, about 15 kilometers from Mecca, and you do your Dhuhr and Asr in Masjid Namira, if you get the chance to perform together behind the Imam. So now other Imams, like Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, allow people to do the combined prayer, Dhuhr and Asr. The combination can still be done according to them in the tents as well. Hanafis don't allow that. They say Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam led people into this combining Dhuhr and Asr only when people just followed him, not in small groups everywhere. So they do not allow that, because Quran says that prayer has been appointed at an appointed time. So the 5 prayers, not 3 prayers. But if you pray behind Imam, then this is by ijma, it's perfectly fine. On your own, you shouldn't. If you follow Hanafi school, if you follow other schools, you can do that. And then making dua, there's no specific dua, no specific ritual on that day, but most of the prophets who came here and the Sahaba, they all would say this kalima, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu al-mulku wa lahu al-hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So that was the, so to say, the best kalima of the day. So do as much as you like. And you have to be there from Dhuhr at the earliest time to the Maghrib, sunset. But you do not pray your Maghrib there. Try to stand, try to go in ruku or sujood, prayer, Quranic recitation, dhikr, the rest if you wanted to, but that's the best time. Okay. And now people are leaving after sunset, after Maghrib, to Muzdalifah. This is Masjid Namira. You could see, obviously, only 1/10 of the people can fill in that masjid. There's so many people for Hajj these days. So if you get inside, then do it. But remember, there's one of the boundary, one part of Masjid Namira is outside of outside of Arafah. Make sure that you don't go there, because then you are outside of the boundary of Arafah, and that could amount to penalty as well. And some people go and climb on this mountain, Jabal Rahma, and that is not Sunnah. This is against Sunnah actually. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was at the bottom of this mountain. People go as a sightseeing, or I don't know what is their mentality of expedition or whatnot. Because we're here to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make sure that we do not do anything against Sunnah. Also, don't commit any sin, especially the picture, the photography, the selfies and live videos to show people stuff. We are not there for that, man. Come and connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are only there to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unfortunately, this has really corroded the iman of our people. They go there and they come back in the same state, showing people live whatever is happening, and no connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not there for that. Anyway, so this is Muzdalifah. They spend their night, that night, and you do not pray your Maghrib. You combine your Maghrib and Isha in Muzdalifah together in the plain. Everyone will be in the open. This is, no tent, nothing. In Arafah, you would have your tent. Here, you would be in the open plain on the ground. The richest and the poor all together. Alhamdulillah, best sight. You get very tired and exhausted. That's why you want to take some rest there. Pray your Maghrib and Isha at Isha time. You can collect pebbles if you haven't done that already. It's mustahab to collect from there and stay there overnight. Rest, zikr, whatever. And then your wuquf starts, according to Hanafi school, at the dawn break. So don't leave before dawn, unless you are elderly, frail, weak, and women and children. They are allowed. They are allowed to go to Mina at the night time, but men shouldn't unless there's a good excuse for that. So leaving after Fajr, so people would do their Fajr prayer in there and then leave. Make sure there'll be queues, obviously. So keep yourself ready. Maybe in Arafat, answer the call of nature before you leave while waiting for the bus. And then you have to come to Mina after Fajr. That is 10th of Dhul Hijjah now. Before sunrise, you could be there. And now today's job, which is 10th of Dhul Hijjah, the task is to pelt, do the rami of the Jamara, Al-Aqaba, the biggest one. So the smaller one, middle one, and the biggest one when you're walking or traveling from Mina to Makkah. So you walk from Mina, you leave the first one, which is a smaller one, the middle one, and then go to the final one and only stone that one. Okay, you have time until Maghrib. It's better to do from before Maghrib. That's the time. Sunrise to Zawal time is the best time, the mustahab time, if you could do between sunrise and before Dhuhr. If you can't do that, you can do until Maghrib, not a problem. And you do not stay there, you just do, and then once you start your the first stone throwing, then you stop your talbiyah. Remember, for Umrah, when you start your tawaf, you stop your talbiyah. Here, talbiyah carries on until you start your stoning. Once you've completed all 7 stones, pebbles done, come back, sacrifice the animal. Obviously, you would do through the company, so they would let you know, your managers, your operators would tell you that, oh, your animal has been slaughtered. Wait until that has happened. Don't change the order. Once you find out the animal has been slaughtered, then you can do the halq and qasr, shortening the hair or shaving the hair. Even if you have already got shaven head, don't worry. You have to just run it on the head. Run the blade on the head. That is fine. Now you can come off the ihram. You're allowed to have all the restrictions lifted from you, except for, so you're allowed to do anything other than the intimacy between the spouses. You can eat, you can put, the perfume stuff, shower, whatever, but you can't have the relationship until after Tawaf Ziyarah. Now the 10th Dhul Hijjah, you have done that. Also, I will just repeat it, sorry. Yeah. Next, on the 10th, if you could, which is Sunnah, to do Tawaf Ifada, Tawaf Ziyarah, or Tawaf Ifada. Again, you do in the same way, Hajar Aswad, Rukn, Yamani, Istilam, and you can do up to 12th of sunset of the 12th. Again, you would do ramal because you have to do sa'i afterwards. Istiba, again, uncovering the right shoulder. Then sa'i between Safa and Marwa, we did exactly the same as Umrah. And once you have shaven your head, tawaf ziyarah done, now you can have even, husband and wife relationship, all fine. But then you come back to Mina, and you have to do now that on 11th and 12th, the pelting for both of those. So first day, only 7 stones. Second day, you have to have 21. And the third day, again 21. Okay, so altogether, 49 you should have. But you can do the 4th day, which is mustahab, sunnah, but you are not bound to do that. That's not wajib. That's not must. Most people do not do it, but it is sunnah to do it. If you could do it, try and do it. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, lift your hand up. Remember, it is not breaking that column. It is just a ritual which is symbolic. You're holding the pebble, which is very small, like a chickpea, in your hand, the thumb and the finger, the index finger, lifting your hand high up for the men, and then throwing it gently, making sure that it just goes and fall within that boundary. Doesn't have to touch, not very hard that it would just rebound back. So don't do that. If it rebound back and didn't go inside, then it's not counted. And don't collect from there unless you're in desperate need, because those stones might be rejected ones. And after, so all 3 on 11th and all 3 on 12th. And if you could do the 13th as well, that's even better. This is the tunnel that people walk through to go to column. These are the column. In olden days, there was only one big column. There was a big trouble. Now, alhamdulillah, plenty of space, nicely done, very easily you can do. Just go and do it. 7, every time say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. But there's certain du'as you can recite, but don't worry about that. I will share the booklet in the group. You can just read from that. Very easy, small booklet. Very nice and handy. Okay, they're different levels, so do very, calmly. Don't panic. And we're back to Jamarat. Then, now you've completed. On 12th, you come back, or 13th, you come back to Makkah, to your hotel. All you have to do is one tawaf, which is tawaf-e-wada'. Now, if you've got more time, you can do more tawaf afterwards. That's not a problem. Some people say, oh, that's a last one. It doesn't have to be last, but ideally you want to make it last and then leave. But if you got delayed for whatever reason, then do another one the next day. Okay. Again, as you would do the tawaf, you do 2 rakat afterwards. And then you visit Medina. You don't have to visit Medina. It is not part of Hajj, but it is a sign of a believer's love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a loyalty, friendship. Okay. And in Medina, make sure that you're committed to the ibadah, the worship, with sincerity. Avoid any prohibition, especially photography. As I said, video filming, phone. People put their back towards the blessed grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then there you are to have your connection with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, have the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making all the good deeds and come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you are engaged in the world, people who are left behind. You're more connected to people, not to the Creator. So it doesn't serve the purpose. There are certain places that you can, inshallah, visit. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, praying in this masjid of mine is 1,000 times better than the prayer in other masjids except for the Makkah, which is haram, which is 100,000 according to some, and 50,000 in another narration. One of the gardens of the Jannah lies between my house and my pulpit, which is Rawdatum min Riyadil Jannah. There be, you can put yourself for that, and then you will have a queue, and you can join that and spend some time. That's part of Jannah. So once you are inside that Rawdatul Jannah, say, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you allowed me to be in Jannah in this world. Keep me in Jannah, because you do not take people out of Jannah. That's your, sunnah. And then Uhud Mount, graveyard, Baqiyah graveyard, Masjid Dhu Qiblatain, where the Qibla was changed, and Masjid Quba, and many other places. But don't get bogged down with that, because we're not there for sightseeing. You do only to connect to the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba. but not as I've visited this and that, or the Wadi Jinn and this and that, all those things that which are not part of. So what you do, you go to, this is a summary. Miqat, you go to Haram, you go to Mina, this is for Hajj, and you from Mina you go to Arafah, from Arafah you go to Muzdalifah back to Mina, and from there back to Haram after you've completed. So that's your journey, and then keep going from Haram to Mina for spending night in Mina and stoning. Some of the landmarks again. What is that? That's the gate. Maqam Ibrahim, you could see. Hatim, Hijr. Oh, sorry, there's a Hajar Aswad. It should be Hajar Al Aswad. Rukn Yamani and Rukn Shami, Rukn Iraqi. Zamzam on that side, Mizab here, Babur Rahma. These have all been like a little bit changed now because there's a lot of extension and a lot of new work on. But we used to remember the major gates name, doors name, that helped locating where the people might have been. Anyway, so leave that. Again, your journey from Miqat to Makkah, from Makkah to Mina, Mina to Arafah, and then coming back to Muzdalifah, which is in between these two. And then from there to Mina, Jamara, see that 3 columns. On 10th, you only do this one. And other 2 days, this, all 3, 777 each. And then you come back either to Makkah or to Mina. So again, the rituals, the summary, state of Ihram, this is your Umrah, 2 rakat intention talbiyah before miqat, remember restrictions. Then you do 7 circuits, start from Blackstone, going all the way, 2 rakat, and then Zamzam, and Sa'i, Safa and Marwa, keep going from here to there, 1, coming back 2, 7 times, and then men jog between the green lights, and then you shave or trim. If, yeah, that's an important point. If the size of the hair is less than a rice grain, because you've already shaven it off the first time and it's only grown that much, then you have only one choice of shaving. You can't trim it. Remember, you can't take the scissors and do few places, small cuts here and there. That's not counted. At least a quarter of whole of your head hairs must be trimmed for more than an inch. So how could you do that? Can't. So always the shave or get the trimmer throughout the hair. And for Hajj summary, 8 Zulhijjah, Yawm al-Tarwiyah, leave Mina, stay in the tents, 5 prayers. On 9 Zulhijjah, which is Yawm al-Arafah, leave after Fajr to the plain, stay there, Dhuhr to Maghrib, and then come to Muzdalifah at night time. And the next Fajr, leave for Mina, and in Mina, this is Yawm al-Nahar, slaughter your animal, then pelt, and then sacrifice. In that order, obviously, pelting first, sacrifice, and then shave. You can remember as pass. Pass is pelting, okay, and then you're shaving, sacrifice, and then shaving, okay. And tawaf ifada on the same day. If you can't do that because you're tired or there was a lot of traffic, the next day or the next day until Maghrib. And 11th, again, you have to do all 3. Pelting, staying overnight in Mina, as Rasulullah would do, and then staying even on 12th. It is sunnah to spend another night, but you don't have to. So that's the Hajj. Another important point left, which I will just try to cover in the next 10-15 minutes. A quick review of Jinayah. Jinayah is the violation. So violation, there are certain violations people do, and they can do in with regards to Ihram, that the state that they're in, and certain according to the place. The Haram itself is a place where you can't do certain things. Okay, so violation of restrictions of Ihram and other dictates of Hajj are called Jinayah. So what are the penalties? One is certain Jinayat, which are called Fidya. A certain Jinayat. So what are they? Let's go for that. 2 types. Violation of restriction of Ihram, which is commission of those practices which have been prohibited during Ihram, like perfume, stitched clothes, stuff like that. And leaving any wajib, which was wajib of haram, so there's deficiency, so that's another jinayah. So these are the jinayat of Hajj. And remember, it does not matter whether the violation is done on purpose or because I didn't know, I forgot, I didn't realize, accident, someone pushed me into it. It doesn't matter. I was sleeping, I was awake. It doesn't matter. As long as you have violated, then there is a penalty. There's no way you can get any, you can't get away without having to pay the penalty. Okay. But obviously, if there was excuse, you're not sinful for that. But doing it, thinking that I would pay the penalty, let me just do it. That is a very gross and big sin. So that was a violation of Hajj. Violation of Ihram for males wearing stitched or knitted clothes in the body shape. As I said, you can wrap it on your hand, on your body, wherever. Okay. You can't cover the head or the face. All of these are violation of Ihram. Perfume, clothes, and soap. So it's quite common for people. This is the commonest thing people do. What they do, they go to toilet in the plane or in the hotel, and without realization, unknowingly, or maybe accidentally, they just, as a natural habit, take the soap and rub on their hand. So make sure that we don't do that. Okay, make sure we don't do that. Change it straight away as soon as you reach there, and get your simple soap out. Put that there and use it only. Likewise, cutting or pruning nails, hairs, foul language, the old violation of Ihram. Fighting, killing animals, not allowed. So what are the expiation? One is badana. Badana is whole cow or whole camel to be slaughtered, which is very expensive, obviously. And there's only two situations one would have to pay that. If a person perform a full or major part of tawaf ziyarah with either pollution, which means that they're sexually defiled, they had, night nocturnal emission, ihtilam, or the women having menses and they perform the tawaf ziyarah, or they were postnatal bleeding, nifas, and they perform their tawaf ziyarah full. Or major part means 4 or more circuits. If they've done that and they realize, oh my goodness, I didn't have shower, then they have to, as a penalty, give badana. Okay. And likewise, while in the state of ihram, husband and wife had the intimacy. And that would also incur a penalty of badana. And because the possibility is that you have not shaven your head properly. You just use the scissor a little bit here and there, thinking that I am now out of ihram, and went to your wife after Umrah or Hajj. Make sure that don't do that. Don't save few hairs and cause yourself more trouble, or few pounds for not shaving the head properly or trimming it properly. Get it trimmed properly. Now, that was badana. This is called dam, expiation. Another one is called dam. Dam means blood. Blood by default means a sheep or a goat, or one portion of cow or camel out of 7. So it's called dam. So if you apply perfume in whole limb, obviously we don't do that generally. So that's why it doesn't happen very often, alhamdulillah. Applying scented oil to the entire limb, one limb, whole of that. Stitch clothes for entire day. Entire day means from morning, dawn to the sunset, half day, technical day, half day, which is called entire day. And the night likewise, from Maghrib to the next morning. If you ever had, obviously it's very, very crazy thing to do. So someone is wearing their stitched clothes inside their ihram without realizing, or without knowing, or just, I can't live without that. And that's the problem. If they did it for 12 hours, which is roughly half the day, then they would have to pay the penalty, which is a goat. It has to be done in the vicinity of haram. Likewise, cover their head for entire day, again for 12 hours, half day, morning to sunset, or from sunset to the morning. Quarter of the head. Obviously, that can happen in sleep, but no one sleeps for 12 hours. A few hours is long enough, isn't it? And then there should be someone next to you change it, wake you up or remove it from your head. Shaving the head, obviously, from any part of the body. Quarter of the head, beard, armpits, or pubic hair. Someone shaving the while in the state of ihram. Obviously, no one should do it, but there's no limit to people's, activity. Who knows? And clipping all 5 nails of one limb. Omitting sa'i. Didn't do the sa'i. Didn't do all 7. Miss all the stoning, 3 of them on one day. Either 7 for first day, or 21 for the next day, or 21 for the next day. Sleeping or ignored or whatever. Then a dam is due. So similarly, to delay shaving or trimming past its prescribed time. Delayed it. To delay tawaf al-ziyarah past is Maghrib, which is 12. Both of us, 12 Zilhijjah. Standing in Arafah past Maghrib, didn't come to Arafah until after Maghrib. But it still came. If they didn't come, the Hajj is not done. They have to be there for at least, some time, little time. Didn't go, no excuse, but didn't go for wuquf of Muzdalifah. Did not have wudu, but performed tawaf ziyarah. Had major impurity or menses and performed tawaf wada or tawaf qudu, which are wajib tawafs. Missed out tawaf wada, more than 4 of whole of it. Changing the order, this is according to Hanafi school only. Shaving, pelting, sacrifice, and shaving. If there was excuse and one had to have that, for example, they had to shave their head or they had to wear the stitched clothes for whatever reason, there was a reason for that, medical ground or whatever. So then they have a choice. Either they do the sheep or goat, or they do donate 13.2 kg of wheat or its equivalent money to 6 people, or fasting for 3 days. It doesn't have to be consecutive. So then they have a choice among these 3, whichever one they want to do. Now, this is even less. So the badana, which was the whole cow or camel. Second one was dam, and now is the fidya, which is only 2.2 kg of wheat or equivalent value. You can find out from what is the current value there. You can ask people, they will let you know. So you apply the perfume, but less than the whole limb. Only a small, just a hand maybe. Just a soap. It's quite common to do that, isn't it? Or cover the head, but only for an hour, half an hour. Less than a day. Likewise, stitch clothes less than a day. Remove the hair from any part of the body for less than a quarter in a small area. Remove the nails, but not all of them, 1 or 2 nails. Minor impurity and perform the tawaf qudum and tawaf wada, because the wajib tawaf ziyarah has higher status, which is fard and rukun. That in the minor impurity, you have to do dam. Most people don't do it, but just to be aware of that. Okay, you missed tawaf wada, but less than 3, less than half. So then you still have to do the fidya, which is 2.2 kg. Did clip the nails, 5 of them, but from different hands, hand and feet, whichever, not from all one hand. Missed few pebbles, but not all of them. Less than, so it wasn't 21. It did maybe 6 or 7 or 5 or 2. But so however much you missed, you have to pay for that. In summary, there are very few situations where one would end up paying a dam. Remember not to use soap, liquid soap, after using toilet unless it is unscented during the state of ihram. Do not try to play smart, ask ulama for advice, and take the best course of action. Be very careful stay away from your wives. Finally, few points about the women. Number one, they have to have a companion in the form of husband and any mahram, blood relative, who they cannot marry, like their brother, father, father-in-law, son-in-law, nephew from brother or sister, son. Ibn Abbas mentioned that Rasulullah said, no man should stay alone with a strange woman, and neither a woman should travel alone without her mahram. On this, a person asked, Ya Rasulullah, my name has been enlisted in jihad and my wife has left for Hajj. The Prophet said, do not go to jihad, but perform Hajj with your wife. That's important. Go and accompany her. She can't go on her own. Now, these restrictions are for both young and old women. Some people say, oh, she's very old, she can go without mahram. Not at all. Even if Saudi government allowed it, doesn't matter. The rule remains the same. It is haram for a widow or a divorced woman to perform it during iddah while she's waiting. You can't perform that during the iddah period. They are permitted to use just normal clothes. There's no ihram for them, even the colored ones. Likewise, the socks and gloves, okay for them. Men cannot have them. They can use even silk clothes, gold, whatever. You can even cover their feet. Men are not supposed to either. So in ihram, you cannot cover your feet. You can cover your feet, but not the top bone, navicular bone. That should be uncovered. The bone in the center of the dorsum of your feet. Men cannot cover their head, but women cannot expose their head because that's their aura. The women should not cover their forehead and face though, but they should, observe the parda, the face veil, but you can do that from the side, from whichever way, by using some frame people do, whichever way they want to do. They should not recite talbiyah aloud. They should not do rumming. Ramal is running in the first 3 circuits of tawaf. Don't follow men in that. Likewise, they should do as far away from Kaaba as possible, not very close by, and in the huge, very crowded place where people are bumping into each other. You should be away from that. Don't run between those 2 pillars. Read some detailed guideline on what to do. If the period starts after assuming ihram, it does not disturb the state of ihram. She will relinquish ihram only when she completes all the rituals of the Hajj, including the ritual clipping of the hair. Means that once you're in the state of ihram, and if the menstruation starts, not a problem. It doesn't matter. You can't enter haram, so you can't perform tawaf. So you stay in Makkah, do your normal activities, stay in the state of ihram. Obviously, you're not in the state of ihram anymore, but you just wait for it to cease. Once it ceases, you go to Masjid Aisha, or you could go to Ji'irana, and then come back in the state of ihram and perform your tawaf. If these are Hajj days, you can go to Mina, you can go to Arafah, you can go to Muzdalifah, you can go to do Rami, everything, but can't enter Masjid. So the tawaf would be missed, which you would do afterwards. You can delay tawaf ziyarah and no penalty for that. Hajj is not completed though, you have to stay there. So make sure that you know your dates, and maybe if you need to take pills, you can take the pills, not haram, but it's not encouraged generally because it could have health implication. And this is Sunnah of Sayyidah Aisha, she had her periods during Hajj. That's why the masjid is called Masjid Aisha, because she went to Tan'im with her brother Abdul Rahman and came back in the state of ihram and performed her tawaf. Come out straight away as soon as you feel that period starting. So don't do sa'i, because sa'i has to be done with the tawaf. So you can't do tawaf, so what's the point? Although sa'i place is not part of masjid and you can be there. After you've completed the tawaf, Now people started, you can do your sa'i because sa'i is okay. It's permissible. You can take the hormone of the tablets, but as long as you know that it wouldn't affect your health, you generally can, but not a big deal. So your choice, inshallah. So that completes it. I know I rushed it. A few things could have been more I explain more with some detail, but I leave it. If you had any question, you can ask, or you can ask the question in the group, which is only for Hajj people and only Hajj related question, so that it does not affect other people. And also, when you're there, you can ask any question because I prioritize you lot over others to respond to because you do not have time to wait for the response for the next couple of days or however long days. Inshallah, stay connected. Keep us all in dua, keep whole ummah in dua. May Allah make your Hajj very blessed and fruitful and make it Hajj mabrur for all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. Come prepared, make sure that you are in the state of performing Hajj, not being pushed into it. Making, sure that you have fulfilled all the rights of people, ask for their forgiveness, and also fulfill the obligation towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if there was anything. And inshallah ta'ala, Allah will help you. Very good question. What do we do about the shaving? So if you shaved your head, you would get 3 times the reward of those who trim it. So do it the first time and do it this second time, because once you've shaven it, you would always do it because you can't have your hair unless you've got a week, 10 days in between your, Umrah and Hajj, which it's not a common thing. Yes, so shave every time and get more reward. Some people think I would just trim it so that I've got enough hair for the Hajj. No, it's not about the size of the hair that you would get reward. You would get the reward of shaving it. So even if you just did your Umrah yesterday or just before Fajr, you ended up completing your Umrah, and now you're coming back in the state of Ihram a few hours later for a Hajj, although you might want to do a Qiran, but that's up to you. And then again, shave it again the second time. You get the reward, inshallah. Any other question you can type in, or you can, it's better to type in, inshallah. Jazakallahu khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.